And we're
Hi,
live.
welcome to the many worlds of Mike and Anthony. I'm Mike,
I'm Anthony,
and
and here we
we
are.
have we have
Yep.
a
Episode
special show,
five.
episode
Yeah.
5, and it's kind of a special episode for us, I think.
Yeah. No. It actually is. I mean, it's our fifth episode, so it is very special. But yeah,
Every
we're gonna
episode is
we're gonna
special.
try a little something different. We're gonna talk about a subject that's actually very near and dear to both Mike and I. Probably
Mhm.
way more. I'm way more impressed with Mike and his knowledge on this subject. I'm just a fan, but
Not at
he's
all.
definitely he's a genuine nerd when it comes to this subject. But yeah, we're gonna talk about James Bond, Mike.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Um, cool thing is, James Bond, pivotal spy character, really awesome. Michael gives some details on kind of who he is and where he comes from and how he was developed. But one great thing I love about just James Bond in general is, I mean, he's just such an icon, and the movies. It's one of the longest running, I would say, franchises of IP that I know of. It's always consistent. It always delivers, and I think we're gonna dive into some of that information today, based off the situation. But Mike, if you want to kind of just chit chat a few minutes about how you became a fan of James Bond, and then
Well,
I'll
yeah. Well, there were two things when I was little that my dad and I really bonded over. One was Star Trek.
yep.
We had a TV show, television station that would show Star Trek marathons on weekends. But sometimes my dad would go to the video store and rent all of the James Bond movies,
Yeah.
and we would watch them all. And we did that on a regular basis. And Mom would kind of roll her eyes and leave the room. So we really bonded over that. And ever since then, I've watched them regularly. And how about you?
Yeah, well, so I probably came to know James Bond probably in I'd say my teenage years. And the way that I came across it, believe it or not, is I've always been a TV fan, movie fan, and this and that. And there were times where a certain television channel would run a Bond marathon. And one day, as I've done with countless other movies, I mean, I've done this for John Wayne films. I used to love watching Westerns and whatnot when I was younger, but I just came across a Bond film one day on when they were running a marathon. The moment I watched I don't even remember which one it was. It's a blur now, but I was done. I was like, absolutely love this. I was so addicted. I had to make sure that I watched all of them. The other thing I think that was so special about it to me was it was always associated with the holiday season. So I
Mhm.
call it the holiday season. It starts in September for me because I'm one of those guys. But October, November, December when all the holidays are, they were usually running a Bond marathon on a weekend, maybe during
Yeah.
over the entire weekend or sometimes entire week on some of the channels. And it was during Thanksgiving time or Christmas or whatnot. So it was just something that it became a part of my holiday season, even when even when it wasn't being run on a marathon on one of the channels. So I went out of my way I have all of the DVDs from
Mhm.
all of the originals. I have every one of them. I stopped
Yeah.
just a few short of the Daniel Craig ones, the most recent ones. But yeah, up until that point, I've got every one of them on DVD, not Blu-ray. I'm talking DVD. So this was way before the Blu-ray technology and the high definition, but it just became a big part of my life. Huge fan. You get some of the posters, some iconic movie posters came from the James Bond franchise and all that. So that's really where I fell in love with it. And it's pretty much been a
Mhm.
part of my life just about every year. I'll not only
Yeah.
listen to the music, but also the film. So, but yeah, um, that's where I came across it. But once again, it's always a consistent across the board from the movies. Always, it always delivers. And really, um, the way that Mike and I wanted to kind of structure this show for our fifth episode because it's special. Mike and I actually we come from an education background, right? So we were both in the education industry for a little while. For me, while I was doing some grad school work, and then for Mike, I think he might actually still do a little bit of teaching on the side.
Mhm.
However, we like to educate, we like to present, and so we're going to try a little bit of that in our format tonight. So hopefully everybody gets a little bit of extra treatment and out of the content that we have tonight. So think hopefully they'll enjoy kind of how we have this set up. But Mike, really we just really want to dive into what makes the IP work from a filmmaking perspective. That's really the direction that we want to go here with this
Yeah.
presentation or with this live stream that we're in tonight. So, Mike, if you want, if you could just give the audience a little bit of a background
Yeah.
on how James Bond was created.
Yeah. So Ian Fleming is the person we need to start with because he wrote the original James Bond novels and short stories. He was born in London in 1908. And he was from a very wealthy upper class family, which gave him access to elite social circles.
Yep.
Hence the clothing, the fine wine, the nice watches. He was well educated at Eton. He was a journalist for a while in Moscow, giving him deep insight into foreign affairs. And then he served as a British naval intelligence, i.e., spy, during World War II.
Hmm.
And many of the things that he did were directly influential to the stories that he wrote in James Bond.
Yeah.
He worked for a guy named Admiral Godfrey, who was his M. He based M on him. He planned a lot of intelligence operations, including one called Operation Mincemeat to steal a decoder off of a enemy ship.
Which
That
happened
sounds like a movie.
which happened to be a pretty good Bond film, if I'm not mistaken.
Great Bond film, From
Yeah.
Russia with Love.
Yes.
And
Number two.
he also designed the Operation Goldeneye,
Yeah.
which was a plan to infiltrate Spanish intelligence in order to keep an eye on Spain in case they sided with Germany during World War II.
Yeah.
So that's where Goldeneye comes from. And then
Well,
he later built an estate in Jamaica named Goldeneye.
Which the GoldenEye film, it really wasn't too much associated with that, but it was an awesome film, by the way. Pierce Brosnan, GoldenEye
Yeah.
film, great song too. Yeah, awesome
Yeah.
intro scene on that one. Yep.
Yeah, and the movies, to your point, do not sometimes have anything to do or much to do with the books. Earlier
Right.
on, they have more to do with them.
And
Um,
and
yeah,
for all real quick of all of our video game nerds out there, probably one of the best Nintendo 64 games ever.
yes,
James Bond. It's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Taking me back to the college parties, man.
yeah, and I believe it's canon to the story.
Mhm.
Um, and he enjoyed gambling. He enjoyed fine wine. He, unlike Bond, was a very heavy smoker.
Mm.
Bond does smoke from time to time, but
A
not as
little bit.
much as Fleming did. He loved fast cars. He loved Bentleys, Aston Martins. He
Mm.
traveled extensively, and he named Bond after an American biologist, an ornithologist, who was named James Bond. And he wanted his spy to have a boring name because, well, that makes sense. If you're going to be a spy, you want to have a nondescript name that doesn't stand
Right.
out, right?
Right. Right.
And then he died at age 56, young
Yeah.
in 1964, just as Bond was becoming an international phenomenon from the
Yeah.
successful movie franchise.
Yep. Which thanks to the Broccoli family for that, right?
Yeah, Broccoli and Saltzman,
Yep.
um, Eon Productions
Yes.
made the films. There were other companies, we won't talk about those today, that had
Right.
some Bond films. We're only including the Eon Productions in our discussion today.
Yeah.
Not if you like those other ones, great, but that's not our discussion.
Yeah. The ones that were pretty much consistent along the timeline, and you can just kind of trace those, step by step by step. So, as you all know, there are several James Bond films. So naturally, the James Bond wasn't always the same, played by the same actor. But I will say, at least from my experience and viewing knowledge, every actor brought a new vibe to the character, a new, personality to the character, even though the gist of the character was always the same. He was risk-taking spy,
Mhm.
very confident and all of that. So, but I know we're going to get into that, but I just wanted to say that, yeah, it's one of those films where I know that nowadays people get upset when they change characters on you, just, out of the blue or whatnot. But unfortunately, in this situation, you kind of have to, because some of the actors get tired, and then others actors, they get too old to be able to play some of those
Or they die.
characters,
Oh,
or they pass away. So, but it did not take away from the film, because James Bond is the character James Bond, and that's what you're watching the film for. And to be honest with you, the characters that or the actors that they had picked and just made it really awesome. So. Yeah.
yeah.
But once again, we can talk about all the fun stuff. There are many, many different layers and elements to this. We're not going to talk about everything. We would have to have several hours, maybe multiple shows to talk about everything. But what we really wanted to focus in on is from the filmmaking perspective. There is a absolute, solid formula that the Aeon Productions and of course the producers that wrote Albert and Saltzman, that they wrote these films based off of the books from Ian Fleming. So, and we're going to talk about that, because it's a fascinating piece for Mike and I, because we're into writing screenplays and those types of things. So we're going to kind of take you through the course of the formulation that they use to make these films so successful, to make them consistent, and how they always manage to deliver.
Yeah. And we're not the only people who have ever analyzed the bond structure. I will say that this is an original work that we have put together. Not that we didn't, after we put it together, we did, see what other people had done. But this was something that I did and Anthony did as a labor of love.
Yep. Absolutely. So, because we are fans. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's a structure, and like you said, we are very, very much into screenwriting, understanding how it works. Mm-hmm. So we have a very good structure here that's used over and over and over again in these films. Now, I will point out that some of the points on this occur in every film. Yep. Some points will not be in a film or two or several. So it's not hard and fast. These are just general things that we've noticed in these films.
Yep.
So we're going to have a few images, and then we're going to talk a lot, hopefully entertain you and educate you. And we will come back and refer to this so that we don't get lost. None of us get lost as we're going through here. So when we're talking about the structure here, first of all, we have 3 opening sequences.
Yep.
And first, the barrel.
Yep.
The pre-title action sequence, and the theme song, music video.
And this right here is what sets up every Bond film, and it's very unique to the Bond franchise. It really is. To me, it is not a Bond film if it does not have this first intro formulation here, this opening sequence formulation. And it also has a major impact and point on the person watching it, because it not only it tees up, it gets you excited, you're revving and ready to go, and then they do something really special after the opening sequence. It's just awesome. So we'll get into it, I know, but I just want to. That's one of the biggest things that kind of hit home with me, was like you absolutely looked forward to the newest movie that was going to come out, the release. You could not wait to see how they were going to open the movie up, and then looking forward to that amazing opening theme. So
yeah, and so here we have the iconic barrel sequence. I'm avoiding certain words because YouTube algorithms don't like them, but we don't want to use some words. Well, we have the 007 barrel sequence, and here we just kind of see how it changed from early on being a black and white, very stark early 1960s creation, but really cool. In fact, I will say that even those films are made in the 60s, when I watch them, they don't seem particularly dated. They seem like very
Yeah.
easily accessible movies from any period. And then we move on to where we introduce more color and
Yep.
have more computer graphics until we get into the modern era of Craig, where really we're reflecting trends like the Dark Knight of being dark and gritty and
Yeah.
having less humor and it's being a little bit
So
more serious.
So interesting about the barrel sequence. I think it's just about every James Bond film. There might be one that doesn't have it, and I'm not sure if that's Doctor No, if that was the first one. I'm not sure. I can't remember. However, interesting thing about it is, remember, you're looking through the gun barrel of, oops, I said the word, the barrel of an opposition to James Bond. So spoiler alert, once you hear the iconic James Bond bang, you see the gun barrel fall because James Bond obviously got the best of the person that's watching it. And then, of course, you have the James Bond theme song, which everybody knows the James Bond theme song. You probably find
Yeah.
yourself
Well,
humming it.
before
You
we
don't
get
even
to
know.
that, though, we have the pre-title action sequence.
Yes. Which
Yeah.
once again, this is the part that sets up the film, that just tees it up for you on how like awesome this film is going to be. The action sequence. It's important.
And when we show these here, those George Lazenby fans out there, I apologize. I tried to stick to 5 panels, so I just went with a standard Connery, Moore, Dalton, Brosnan, Craig. I love the George Lazenby on Her
Yes,
Majesty's Secret Service is an awesome movie.
it
I'm
is.
just doing this for economy's sake. There's no shade thrown here to Lazenby.
Right. And
So we've got these awesome pre-title action sequences, and all of them, to my knowledge, um, well, not all of them. Most of them involve James Bond in them. Not all of them. For instance, Scaramanga gets his own, although there is what looks like Bond in it.
right.
Uh, Turns out to be a decoy, but Scaramanga takes over the Man with the Golden Guns pre-title sequence, and I think maybe Doctor No also had the three blind mice things
Yeah,
going
the
on.
theme song. Yeah, the Three Blind Mice. Yeah, which was
Yeah,
interesting. So
because
yeah, but
they couldn't afford a theme.
let me just say this about opening sequence
Yeah.
scenes for James Bond. They are so outlandish in a lot of cases. I mean, you're
Mhm.
talking, for instance, a Roger Moore ski scene where he's literally skiing off of a
Oh, my
cliff.
favorite.
I mean, and then all of a sudden something miraculous happens and a parachute comes out and you didn't even see it on him. I mean, it is so outlandish.
Yeah.
But it's so much fun and it's so awesome. And it's like, you're just like, yes, I cannot wait to watch the next 2 hours because these movies are fairly long as well. So,
Well, and to your point, and we're going to talk about theme songs in just a minute,
which is key.
but that, oh my gosh, that sequence of the ski chase and The Spy Who Loved Me
Yes.
is my favorite, without
Yeah.
a doubt. It's now there are a few things that today are just so when they film these, they would have the stunt people doing the actual practical stunts, which
Yes.
I always like practical stunts better than CGI if you can do it.
Yep.
But when they would do close-ups, they would have them on a projection screen in a studio.
Yeah.
Today, that doesn't translate as well as it would have back in 1970s, but it's okay because the rest of it's so awesome. The theme song, when you watch that scene, he goes off the cliff and the music just stops.
I know. And then
And
it fades to exactly. Yeah. And then
it's
it's
beautiful.
And it gives you goosebumps just thinking about
Oh,
it because that's how every one of those movies starts. That's what I'm saying. You give them a shot, give them a chance, watch them. You'll know what we're talking about. It's so
yeah.
fun. It's so cool.
The
And then,
filmmaking is astonishing.
yeah. I mean, but like I said, some of them are very outlandish. Literally,
Yeah.
license to kill, right? They
Yeah.
literally,
Helicopter.
they literally are in a helicopter above an airplane, and
Mhm.
Bond just kind of tethers down, wraps up the tail of the airplane, and then the helicopter, just pulls up, and then the airplane
Yeah.
just goes, and then they just carry the airplane. It's so awesome. It's
Yeah.
so awesome. And then
They can't
he
be over the top.
parachutes in. Yeah, and then he just parachutes in like nothing happened. Like, it's just, just business as usual.
Yeah. And Also, The Man with the Golden Gun.
Yeah, that's a good
Let
one
me
too.
just mention that because we talked about Scaramanga getting his own pre-title action
Yeah,
sequence,
he's the
but
henchman.
I'm going to point out the brilliance of the script writing here
Yeah.
is that they go through the sequence where Nick Nack basically asks this guy to come into the funhouse part of their lair, which you don't know where the lair is yet. It just looks
Right.
like a funhouse. And this guy goes down in there and he's being hunted by Scaramanga
Yeah.
and the man with the golden gun.
Yes.
And
For
um
sport. It was a
and
sport.
yeah, and you would think this has nothing to do with the movie, but it perfectly foreshadows the end of the movie
Yes.
when the exact same sequence happens with Bond. And Nick Nack says, if you kill him, I inherit all of this. And we know he's lying because we've
Right.
seen him do it before. It's
Yep.
brilliant.
Yeah. And just to tell Nick Nack, that's one of the henchmen. We'll talk a little bit about that. But
Yeah.
Nick Nack was he was just it's another iconic piece to the movies. There's always this awesome, unique, interesting henchman that is just has some special skills. They're just bad. They're awesome, but they're
Yeah.
bad. So
A couple shout outs of a couple of my favorite pre-title sequences is Moonraker, Jaws, and Bond falling from the plane.
yep.
That's pretty amazing. I also love Skyfall with the train
Yeah.
sequence. Yeah. So any other thoughts on the pre-title sequence?
No, we kind of I think we kind of teed up probably the most special part of the Bond film, and
Oh
I
my
say
gosh,
special. It's near and dear to my heart because
me too.
be honest with you, um, to be honest with you, I think it just made the films so very special, and also for the times that the film. It was very telling of the times that we were living in when those films were being made, because just about every one of the intro theme songs, and we can talk about how they put the structure of those
Mhm,
theme songs,
mhm.
but every one of those were done by some popular artist of the time. And
Yeah,
and I think it was almost like an honor for them. It was like, "Oh my gosh, you're asking me to do the James Bond theme." It's like, "Yeah, that's like a huge deal. That's like a big,
yeah.
big deal." And
Only
there were
the
some
very biggest people turned him. Frank Sinatra turned him down, I think.
right. Yeah, yeah. Which, to be honest with you,
His
what a
loss.
loss. Yeah, his
Yeah,
loss, right? Because
yeah.
these films, yeah, they're still to this day very, very popular. But
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 his
yeah,
daughter did one.
that's right. I was gonna say, but maybe that's what he did. He talked her into it. But no,
Yeah,
we're talking major artists. I mean, we're talking Paul McCartney and Wings, obviously Paul McCartney, famous
yeah.
Beatle. We're talking Duran Duran. We're talking
Tina
Gladys Knight.
Easton was huge in the 80s.
Yeah, we're talking
Sheryl Crow,
who? Yes,
Billie Eilish.
Adele. Adele did one.
Bell. Oh yeah,
Tina
and it was all
Tina Turner. Tina Turner did one. I mean, so we just
yeah,
have
Goldeneye.
yeah, yeah. So we have it was just it's a very important piece of a Bond film. You could not, in my opinion, you cannot have the Bond film at all. Even if you have the opening sequence, if you have the barrel and all that, you cannot have a Bond movie. I won't watch it if it does not have the
Yeah,
opening music sequence. So
and one of the things that I didn't remember as a child, maybe it's because of the bad VHS copies, but just in the movies in general, it's
yeah,
just how should I say this? So much skin in the Bond
yes,
movie. In those
yes,
early
yes.
Connery and Moore episodes, and but I won't say any more about that.
Yeah, look,
But
I mean, look, it's a spy film, right? It's about
they're
a
all
guy
PG.
who's this, yeah, it's all it is. It's a spy film. It's about a guy who has to infiltrate bad guys. He takes risks, and he's just so his life,
Mhm. Yeah,
his whole personality is it's based off of masculine, confident, all of this stuff. So naturally, he was a ladies' man. And so
yeah,
they really, and that was the draw to the films, right? It was that lifestyle. It was the spy. It was the glitz, the glamour. It was the gambling. It was the risking your life. It was fighting. It was just there was so much to it. So yeah, naturally, you had a lot of beautiful women, a lot of skin. That's just
yeah,
it's just what it was. It was romance and violence. I mean, it's really what
yeah,
it was. It was
exactly.
romance and violence. So and you saw that was reflected. It was reflected in every music video
Yeah,
for those songs, those theme
What
songs.
do you have a favorite?
Do I have a favorite intro song?
Yeah.
I do. It is License to Kill.
Really?
I absolutely love
Last
License to
night?
Kill. Gladys Knight, it's my favorite. It's my favorite
Legend.
intro. It's my
Legend.
favorite intro song. When that opening sequence ends and it goes right into the theme song, it's like you automatically you know you're entering into a Bond film. If you just listen to the chords as the song begins, you're like, this is James Bond. Like, you don't even have to be watching it. You close your eyes and you know you're about to watch a Bond film. It's awesome. And she's got a killer voice and it's got a cool chorus. It's awesome. So yeah, that's my favorite by far.
I have to go with The Spy Who Loved Me.
Okay.
After that opening sequence and Carly Simon comes in, I just melt. Oh my gosh. It's so awesome. And the best choreography sequence, I think. I mean, you've got the girls who are the 10 soldiers that get knocked.
Yes.
It's just, it's amazing. I love it so much.
Nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better.
And then it's a brilliant line.
Yeah.
Should be a Bond film itself. It should be a Bond film itself. Nobody does it better.
These songs, right? They weren't just in the title sequence. John Barry, the composer, would take them and weave them through the movie in different forms.
Yes. Which was it made the film because you knew you were humming the song in like one of the action scenes. It was fast paced. And then there was a slow version. I mean, it was just
sometimes
awesome.
You'd have a cabaret singer singing it all of a sudden in the middle of the movie.
That's how important. That's how important those theme songs were to the
film.
And
can I say something about The Man with the Golden Gun that was so cool? So the title sequence, the theme song, The Man with the Golden Gun. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
When that sang by Lulu. When that is played at the beginning, it's right after the funhouse sequence. Now, when we get to the end of the movie and we're in the funhouse again with Bond in there, they play the James Bond theme, but with the circus music kind of slant to it. It's that usual, but it's dissonant chords and it's like a funhouse American. It's brilliant.
It's no. That's a good one. It's definitely a good film. So,
I mean, scores. Oh, sorry.
Say that again, Mike.
I was going to ask you what your favorite orchestral score of a Bond movie is.
Oh goodness. Let's see. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm gonna say probably A View to a Kill.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Thunderball. It blows me away. Yeah.
I mean, it's a good film. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with View to a Kill. I mean, I think that is the soundtrack to that, orchestral soundtrack to that is. I like it though. I mean, I like that film. We'll talk about that later, but it's a good film. So.
All right. Well, okay. So next, unless you have anything else to say about music.
No. Let's keep going. Let's keep rolling through here. Music's great, but you should
all right. So next we've got in our outline. So we went through the opening sequences. Next, we come to a section called The Call. Okay.
Yep.
So
for anybody, so the call, and I know Michael kind of go into a little bit of detail for just a few on this, but if you think of The Call, if you're also familiar with another franchise out there called Mission Impossible, it's similar to that, right? It's, Ethan Hunt gets the letter or gets the cassette tape, and it tells them what's going on, or at least in this case, they tell him what the mission is. Now, that's not necessarily what happens in Bond, but in MI, they do that, and then of course it's like this message will self-destruct and blah blah blah. So that's kind of what The Call reminds me of when I hear that. But Mike, you can give a little bit of background on the James Bond call and how unique that is.
When we get into the next 2 or 3 sections, these are going to be sections that are not always present So sometimes they'll skip it,
Right.
but
Not everyone had that.
basically, yeah, typically we'll say Bond is either on a tangential assignment or he might even be on vacation or a day off. And he is oftentimes with a beautiful woman, as he is
Yeah.
just about all the time. But
Swat living away.
and he is interrupted by a call from M or Moneypenny to give him the say he needs to come in. There's an assignment.
Yep. And they're very vague about it. There's not much really that they say. They say a few things, but it's like you just need to come in and I gotta tell you, Bond's just like, gotta go. And he ditches her or ditches whoever, whatever he's doing. He's out. He's gone.
Yeah. And like I
Yep.
said, it doesn't happen every time.
No.
In Quantum, it's less so in the Craig films. He basically starts off kind of there's a lot of revenge stuff in the Craig
Yeah.
film where
Well,
he's doing it.
it's a
Yeah.
darker series. They said it's a darker series.
Yeah. Or it happens before the credits. And so he's already out on the field.
Yeah.
That also happens, by the way, in some of the Brosnan, or at least one of the Brosnan films, like Die Another Day, I think.
Yeah.
There's no particular call, but
Yeah.
it's typically something that happens. So
wasn't
yeah.
that Madonna? Didn't she do Die Another Day? Wasn't that her theme song?
I think it was. I gotta run. Let's see.
Yeah, no worries.
Uh,
I'm
no, yeah,
pretty.
it was Madonna because
Yeah.
was it Shirley Manson or was it was Madonna? Yeah.
Yeah. Once
Shirley
again,
Manson.
another
Garbage was before
famous.
that.
Yeah, another famous musician.
Yeah.
As everybody knows, Madonna. So, anyways, yeah. So,
Yeah. And that wasn't one of my favorites. So sometimes I skip the Madonna one. I love Madonna. Don't get me wrong.
yeah,
I love Madonna, but sometimes
it,
it's
it
not.
was it was a little on the heavy on the electronic side. I'll
Yeah.
say that for
Yeah.
Madonna for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Then we have what we can call the briefing, and this kind of
Yeah.
incorporates three subsections where he comes in, he flirts with Moneypenny, he receives the actual specifics of the assignment,
Yeah.
and then typically Q Branch will equip him with the gadgets that he's going to need when he's out in the field.
And these are fairly frequent staples in the Bond across films. You know, Moneypenny is a huge character. I think she is in every Bond film. She's very iconic of a character. I love Moneypenny and James Bond's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
That to me it's a very key, important relationship. Everybody knows Bond's a playboy. You know, he's that spy. He gets all the ladies, but Moneypenny loves him. She loves him not from a romantic side of things, but loves him as like he's family. She absolutely loves and respects James. And James, you know, as much of a playboy as he is, and as much as he, you know, he's a womanizer and all of that good stuff, he has probably the utmost respect. I would say he has the utmost respect for Moneypenny, probably one of the only women he absolutely 100% truly respects and ever will respect. That's the kind of relationship that they have. And they just, their chemistry together is just so much fun, especially in the Sean Connery films. Like the chemistry is it's perfect.
And it's made explicit in the Craig films that she's a trained field operative as well when need be.
Right.
But there are hints of how well she's trained even in the early Connery films, because there's nobody that knows more about British intelligence except M than Moneypenny.
Right.
Because she not only knows all the stuff Bond's doing, she knows all the 00 assignments. And like she can take his hat and throw it with perfect accuracy onto the freaking hat rack, like, you know, Odd Job, basically. Yeah. So then, and Bond,
Odd Job, Henchman and Goldfinger.
Yeah. And so Bond will sometimes come out and like not know something about that he needs to know the assignment, like where some backstory of the villain should be like, oh, he's educated in Cambridge, then he became an assassin for this, and then she just knows everything. Even at one point he said, "You're better than a computer," and she said, "Well, in many ways."
Literally, Bond walks out of M's office. He's leaving, for the mission. He's going, and Moneypenny's already standing there with whatever he needs. Like, here's your passport, here's your key, here's this, here's that. Like, they would joke about her probably listening in, and whatnot, but I don't know.
Well, think about that. She bugs M's office.
Right. I know, that's what I was going to say. Well, she didn't have to. She literally has the punch board.
And doesn't get in trouble for it. So that's a lot of trust.
But it's a key relationship in the movie. It's important. It has to be there. She is definitely a good character that kind of breaks up a little bit of the serious side. Yeah, it's just great. So then Bond goes into M's office, and there's the famous double doors, right? There's the first door, and then there's the second door. And so I've always found that fascinating. In every office scene, there were always the two doors.
I love the fact that there are lots of times when there are like other intelligence officials in there in the beginning, and they'll kind of give him some specific information, and it'll be like, and they'll ask a question, and it'll be like, that's above your classification. Then he'll kick them out.
I know.
And tell Bond all the info.
Yeah, it is. It's awesome. But that's great. So M was primarily played by a male character throughout the majority of the Bond films. But then Dame Judi Dench came into play, and I want to say in the Pierce Brosnan films, or am I wrong?
That's a part that's eluding me right now.
It's okay. I'm pretty sure.
The original M was Bernard Lee, who was amazing.
He was the most iconic, famous. So just for everybody's, M is basically the head of the MI6.
Yeah.
So he has a direct relationship with the 00 agents, and he knows that Bond is his most important, the best of the best, right? I mean, I'm pretty sure he is the best of the best. So Bond gets called in on all of the big time.
And M is frequently dismayed at Bond and
always
does not care for his playboy ways, his waste of government funds, his damaging of vehicles. Q's not crazy about that stuff.
No, Q's always nagging at him.
Speaking of Q.
Yeah.
So we always have all the cool gadgets, right?
Tying it all in. M gives him the assignment. They have a little friendly banter. And then the next thing you know, it's time to equip Bond with what he needs. So as you can see, just a couple examples here, which I think are great. There are countless things. I'll go ahead, Mike.
There's so many things we could have chosen to put up here. And really, none of these are definitive. It was just ones we chose. Obviously, the Aston Martin in the first film was kind of the first really cool one. And then his Walther PPK has in every film except one. I'm trying to remember which one. It was one of the more films he doesn't use it.
Yeah.
But this is his most used one for sure.
Yes, the Walther.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was interesting, and I can't remember which Bond film it was. Maybe it was From Russia with Love, or I don't remember which one it was, but Bond, they basically had Bond trade in his Beretta because he was carrying a Beretta and he didn't want to get rid of it. He loved his Beretta. And of course, Q Branch gave him the standard issue Walther PPK and showed him how to use it. And he also, that was where I think he introduced him to the iconic briefcase. That had that. It was just, so it's another fun part that you look forward to in every Bond film is the debrief from Q Branch. And Q Branch was this was the R&D department of the MI6. Right. They were developing. Remember, sometimes they would take him down into the research and development lab. And in the background, you can see all kinds of cool stuff happening. It's awesome. Like flamethrower, flame retardant suit. They're blasting with a flamethrower and and Bond's just playing around with it. And Q Branch is like, pay attention, 007. Stop touching. It's just awesome.
Yeah. My favorite gadget related moment, I think, is when I'm trying to remember which one, but it was triple. He was trying to remember something about maybe the car he was driving. I think maybe it was somewhere. Anyway, Triple X was started telling him how it worked. I stole the blueprints of that 2 years ago.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and here's something else that was really cool about the Bond franchise is there was also actual like a real life cultural impact as well that Bond had, right? So signature vehicles, the Aston Martin. I mean, those are
Mhm.
very high end popular vehicles. BMW played a big role as well. One of my favorite things, because in my past history, I do have a little bit of a jewelry background, are the watches. And
Yeah.
there's one iconic brand of watch in across the James Bond franchise, and it's not Rolex, it's Omega, or
Oh,
Omega as some of them call it. And it actually was one of the gadgets that
yeah.
that he had. Right, he had the little zip, not zip line, but I forgot what it was, but a little, it'd come out of the crown and everything. It had a little sensor in it. I mean, it was really, really awesome. So the Omega watches is
It's
still a very,
ligature.
and that's what it
Ligature.
was. That's what it was. Yes. Yep. And so Omega was, it still is a very popular, it's a high end brand watch, still worn, classic, custom for James Bond. So,
Yeah.
and it
Yeah.
happened to be a gadget.
You can buy most of the stuff from the film somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
Um, all right. So we have the gadgets, and we go back and kind of look at what's next on our outline.
Yeah.
Uh, and we have um,
Transportation. We kind of just segue into
transportation.
that, right?
Yeah, we kind of talked about it a little bit because some of the cars and vehicles are also going to be kind of iconic
Yes.
for are also going to be gadgets.
Yeah.
So you can't do transportation without putting an Aston Martin in there.
Right.
Uh,
You just can't. It's
and
James Bond staple. The Aston Martin is a James Bond staple.
yeah, the submarine car I thought had to be in there. Aston Martin shows up 3 times in 3 different versions.
Yes. Yeah.
BMW,
Well,
that was cool too. I thought. I'm not usually a big BMW fan, but he wore it well.
yeah. 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 Well, the Z was an awesome vehicle, and it was a pretty popular one that they introduced. But no, there are there's a handful of really awesome vehicles. You mentioned the Lotus, which is probably one of my favorites. I was in Roger
Yeah,
Moore times where it turned into a submarine. I mean,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, who doesn't want
yeah,
that? So, but
exactly. And
yeah.
but cars weren't the only way. He traveled on the Orient Express. There's always some very visually interesting thing he does,
Yes.
whether it's the train or whether it's the plane with the. Well, I guess that was originally a villain's transportation with the car
Yeah.
the car plane, but he had I think my least favorite one, which was a little bit silly, was the gondola hovercraft.
Yes, that's right. There was one of those. That was pretty funny. But hey,
Moonraker.
yeah, but you gotta have some of that stuff. That look, if you can kind of tell, there were some things in there that kind of had a comedic theme to it, a little bit of humor as well. So in the
Especially in the
Bond,
Moore era. Yeah.
especially in the Roger Moore era,
And
Roger
the
Moore, but
and
he
the
was perfect
the
at it.
more the more you went on with the Roger Moore era, the more silly things would pop up. The first
But
several films weren't didn't
but
have
it was
much heavy stuff.
it was well played, though. It was absolutely well
Yeah,
played. Roger
agreed.
Moore had that personality to do that. I mean, he had the snarkiness, the little grin out of the side of his mouth, like, oh, and
Well,
he was so good at it.
to your point earlier, this franchise has been running for so long, and how many franchises can pull off?
Yeah.
I mean, every single Bond movie that I can think of the canon ones, is a good, solid movie that I enjoy watching.
Yeah.
Um, you can't say that about Police Academy 32. Uh,
No. Although some of the Police Academy movies were hilarious. Citizens
the
on Patrol.
early ones are, yeah. Um, but
No.
there's usually most movie franchises can't keep up that level.
Yep.
I can you think of another franchise that has?
No. I mean, not off the top of my head. Maybe we
Yeah,
can dig in the
maybe,
recesses of
maybe
my mind.
there is. Yeah. Let's
But
not
yeah,
forget Little Nelly.
can't forget Little Nelly. That, and hey, there is a pretty iconic jetpack scene too in the Sean
Oh,
Connery
for
film.
sure.
So,
And Thunderball. Yeah.
yep. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't forget
And
that. And that was state of the art. That was cutting edge, right? big
There was a
old
moon
tank
buggy
on the
in the
back.
desert.
Yeah,
Moon
it was
buggy and
awesome.
Diamonds Forever. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Um, yeah. So, all right. So the next thing that happens
So
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
no. So they say we're moving into the exotic locations because it
Yeah,
wouldn't be a Bond film if there wasn't some exotic place that he was going to travel to, if not multiple exotic places. But it makes sense because once again, we're talking spy films, right?
yeah,
We're
yeah,
talking, you're dealing with bad guys, criminal masterminds. What is it all about with them? It's about money, it's about power, it's about status. So, of
true.
course, they're going to be at the most highfalutin places, the most exotic locations. And that's where we find Bond having to travel to. The funny thing is, Bond is very familiar with those types of places because I do believe he lives a fairly lavish lifestyle
Yeah,
himself,
yeah,
just as you
yeah,
pick up from the film and his character. So,
for sure. And the one time, um, when we go to his house, it's gorgeous.
oh
It's in
yeah,
the
yeah, it's state of the art for that time. Actually, it's cool.
and so he goes all over the world. I can be honest with you, I was always a little disappointed when he'd show up in America, even though Goldfinger is one of my favorite Bond movies.
It was it
It's
was necessary though. It was
it was
necessary for the plot of the
necessary,
film. Yeah.
but
When we talk
and
about villains, yeah.
to other, people in England, to them, America was a different location. But to me,
Yes.
I was like, oh, really? We're gonna go to Tennessee or Kentucky or wherever,
Right,
you know.
right.
But fine. And then went to Las Vegas. That's fine. Um,
Yeah, necessary.
so yeah,
Necessary.
I think I don't know my favorite. I don't know if you have a favorite exotic location. I'm partial to. I don't know. Hong Kong was pretty cool. I like Doctor No. Jamaica was fun.
Look, Live and Let Die, all of the voodoo stuff that was in there. I mean,
Yeah,
that
uh,
the yeah, the kind of the New Orleans
you're
vibe
right.
was just
That was
yeah.
really cool. Yeah,
It
and they
was
had some great henchmen in it.
it really did. It was an awesome. That's an awesome film. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely an awesome film. I love that. So,
So they he goes to an exotic location, and
yep.
then
This is
they're
when the fun begins. This is really when the fun
right.
begins.
So when the movie starts,
Right.
well, kind of I guess with the exotic locale, I guess
Yep.
you'd say we start the second act, and
Yep.
so we have meetings, and I kind of put these in four categories:
Yep.
Bond girls, allies, and sometimes there's an overlap there. Um, we have henchmen and big bads.
Yep.
So,
So
when yeah,
it's another probably it's like Sports Illustrated swimsuit issue, right? You're going to get one every year. It's going to be full of just amazing pictures.
yeah,
James Bond girls are probably the second most famous of the
yeah,
movie franchise other than James Bond himself. If you were a Bond girl, it's like the music. If it was an honor to be cast as a Bond girl.
yes,
And we have iconic actresses throughout the entire franchise that just nailed so much and just
absolutely.
amazing. They filled
Yeah,
amazing roles. But here, let me say one more thing about the Bond women. These women were not ditzy,
no,
doofy. No,
uh,
that's that. So don't misconstrue what we're saying here when we're talking
absolutely.
about Bond
Yeah,
women. You just think, oh, James Bond was this. Look, these women captured James Bond's heart, Mr. Playboy. They captured
yeah.
every one of them, and they
I
were
think
very
he legit
strong.
fell in love with several of them.
Yes, well, it's because they were very strong. They were very confident. They were very powerful women.
Yeah,
Just by their presence. So yeah, it was. It's very, very important that you understand
and
that Bond girls were not a joke, something to be
no,
trifled with or joking. They were serious, awesome characters in the films.
and oftentimes very dangerous, and oftentimes willing to switch sides to survive.
Yep, and they were
And
skilled. They were skilled at so
yeah,
much.
and it was so hard putting this slide together because again, these aren't the best. These are just we had to choose
Oh,
one from each section.
there's
Honey
countless.
Rider, I chose her because she was the first. She comes up
Yep,
out of the ocean. Oh my God.
yep,
Um,
yep.
and a few other kind of iconic ones. I really, really struggled over whether to, instead of Octopussy, I really wanted to put Triple X in there because if anybody was James Bond's equal, it was Triple X.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because she was spying on James Bond before he even knew her.
Yeah.
She stole blueprints from Q Branch. You know,
Well, and yeah, and I'll bring up another iconic character too that I absolutely loved, Grace Jones. Grace Jones, once again, A View to a Kill. I loved Grace Jones. Mayday. She was awesome. I mean, she was so
yeah,
cool, and I loved her character arc. I
yeah,
won't spoil it for anybody who's going to watch it, but her character arc was really really great. So
yeah, uh, yeah. They weren't bimbos. They weren't lightweights. They
nope.
were
Intri-
professional, skilled,
yes. Integral
powerful.
parts
Yep.
of the film, and
Mhm.
without them, the Bond film wouldn't be the Bond film that it is. So Bond girls, do not misconstrue that for, oh, that's just some bimbo. Like, no, 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 no. Not if you were a Bond girl, you were certainly not a bimbo.
Yeah, and
You were,
Bond, he sometimes, oftentimes, I would say, goes out of his way to save the life of a woman who just tried to murder him 5 seconds ago.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's because he had some integrity.
Yeah.
He had a moral compass, man. He really did.
And usually they end up allies by the end.
Speaking of allies, one of
Yeah.
my favorite allies is our U.S. contact that Bond has been friends with forever, Felix Leiter.
Our cat Felix. Yeah.
That's right. He's probably one of my favorite allies that he has. Now there's several
I am.
others, but Felix is probably the most iconic and out of all of the allies. And look, he was a U.S. intelligence guy, so
Yeah. No,
his
he was
friends in the
awesome.
CIA. Yeah.
Uh, yeah. And I mean, who can forget Peppa?
Yeah. Yes. It was J.W. Peppa?
W. Peppa.
So once again, a little bit more of the comedic side of the James Bond franchise, but J.W. Peppa was this sheriff. I think it was in New Orleans, right, or Mississippi, or some area.
He was
Awesome.
New Orleans. Yeah.
He was a goofy character, but he was he was pivotal. He played a good role.
I need to go back because I don't remember who the screenwriter was, but boy,
Yeah,
somebody was stopped by a Louisiana sheriff at some point who wrote that script.
it must have been. But yeah, look up J.W. I think it's J.W. Peppa.
Yeah,
It looked like he always had a chew in. Yeah,
and he shows up in the next movie after he's
yeah,
introduced too.
yeah.
But
He was in two of the films.
yeah, and I believe that here was the template for Smokey and the Bandit, Buford
Yes,
T. Justice.
Buford T. Justice.
Look at
Yeah,
that scene where J.W. Pepper gets out of his car and
yeah,
hikes up his pants and
yeah.
he goes over there. It's exactly what happens with
And he
Buford T.
calls
Justice.
him boy.
Yeah.
Boy. Yeah.
And so yeah, iconic. Also, I think there's some influence on both Boss Hogg and Roscoe P. Coltrane.
For sure. For sure.
Yeah. Anyway,
But the allies played pivotal roles, whether they were a J.W. Pepper or whether they were a Felix. There were certain points that Bond was able to leverage with them, whether they knew it or not. I think Peppa, I don't think he was really aware that he was being brought into this massive, British Secret Service, spy, espionage, takedown. He was just kind of an innocent bystander that was like dispatched to join in. But Felix, of course, was always like, Bond needed some sort of a connection. He needed to get some more intel. He needed something, or Felix needed something, and would have Bond help him. So
yeah, so many good ones. I mean, when you're watching, you have to watch a James Bond movie to see the words "and introducing Jane Seymour."
Right. Yep.
Oh, and Britt Eklund as Holly. As Mary Goodnight. She was an awesome ally too.
Yes,
she was one on MI6.
But with that said, on the other end of the coin, the bad guys had allies too. Well, we'll call them henchmen, correct, Mike?
Very, very true. And again,
And that
just like the Bond girls, henchmen are integral.
they are. And once again, very much an iconic part of the Bond franchise. They weren't just a big, strong, bad person. They were very uniquely skilled. They had some sort of a special ability, if that. I mean, just talking about the first two, Odd Job, this guy he was like a brick wall. I mean, you could punch him and it wouldn't phase him. And he had this awesome skill, right, Mike, of his hat. His hat was like a razor blade on the brim, and he would throw it, and that thing would kill people. That's how he killed people. Of course, Jaws. Obviously, they called him Jaws because he had a mouthful of metal, and he would crush things with his mouth. That's how he would kill people.
He killed a shark with his teeth.
He did, yeah. So and Mike mentioned Knick Knack earlier. Knick Knack, you call him that because he was a very, very tiny human being. But he was masterful at deception and being, appearing and disappearing. I mean, he was really, really great. And Scaramanga, he was his best friend. Scaramanga, I think, was disappointed.
I love the end scene of Live and Let Die, where you have Baron Samedi, who's at the back of the train, smiling.
Yeah, smiling. Yeah. The voodoo guy, right? Well, and we saw him. He rose from a casket.
Right. Yeah.
There was some voodoo which that's what's so much fun about Live and Let Die. That one's a fun film. I think that was Roger Moore's that was his intro film.
And I guess that was the first movie that flirted with something akin to supernatural.
Yes.
Right. Because you had
the voodoo doctor.
And it was a solitaire who could read the future.
Yes.
And then it was believed that if she slept with anybody that she would lose her powers.
And that's who, and I can't remember his name, but the actor, Yafi Kodo, is that his name? He kept her around, right? That was she was like trapped because he utilized her to read the future. Yeah. And then Bond stole her. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Bond swooped in and stole her, and that cheated up.
Well,
that was.
There are some of those Bond girls who they were kind of owned by the villain, and they were wanting Bond to free them. A good example of that was Man with the Golden Gun, where we think at the beginning of the movie that it is Scaramanga who sent the bullet with 007's insignia on it, because he sends a bullet to whoever he's going to assassinate. Right. Is the way it works. And so the whole operation is based around the thought that he's going to assassinate Bond. And when Scaramanga gets a chance, he's at close range for an assassin and shoots somebody else who it's a whole long story. But then we come to find out that it was.
Looks like we just lost Mike, so I don't know if he's going to be able to chime back in or not. So I'll keep going, and hopefully the feed is still working. That said, I'll talk about a little bit about Live and Let Die. If you notice that title, the familiarity of that title, Live and Let Die. That is a famous Paul McCartney song. If you recall, Paul McCartney was one of the Beatles. He was an icon in the music industry, and he was another one that did an excellent theme song in the Bond franchise. So it's a very, very good song. So give that one a listen to. One of the next sections that we were going to talk about. So there's the henchmen, of course, but the henchmen always go into they go hand in hand with the actual boss, with the actual big bad, as Mike calls them. So this is pretty much the antagonist of each one of the Bond films, right? So you've got James Bond, the good guy, and then of course you have the bad guy. The bad guy is going to be very behind the scenes most of the time. He's not going to be very prominent in the film until it gets closer to the end. James Bond always has some sort of an interaction with them before they essentially have an encounter together, which is always fun to see because they both have an opportunity to just end the film or end the movie right away. They can take each other out if they wanted to, but they're always meeting in some exotic location. They're in that location. They're always in a public space somewhere. Like in Goldfinger, they met at, I believe it was some, I don't know if it was like a horse racing ranch or something like that. Might have been owned by Goldfinger, but that was something that was very interesting as well. Whenever whenever they were introducing who the bad guy was. So there are some key bad guys that actually spanned several Bond films. A very popular one. If Mike's able to get back here. We'll show you a couple photos of these people, but of course he talked about one of his most favorite ones, which was Scaramanga from The Man with the Golden Gun. He was the man with the golden gun. It was kind of a neat little device. It was this little kit that he had, and he would put it together, and it formed a gun, a single shot pistol, and it was all gold because he was obsessed with that. But one of the main bad guys of the especially in the Sean Connery series was his name was Stavros Blofeld, and Blofeld it's kind of funny as he was parodied. So if you want to know who Blofeld was this. You didn't get to see his face. You could see, they had some behind him shots, silhouette type shots, but he was the famous. This is where if you remember the Austin Powers series had Dr. Evil, the bald-headed bad guy that's always stroking a cat. Well, that was actually based off of the Blofeld character in James Bond. So they showed a picture of him sitting in this room with several henchmen. And the funny thing was in Austin Powers, some of the henchmen people's names were, he had numbers to them, right? He called them number two, right? Remember, I don't know if you remember the number two joke, but it was really kind of funny in Austin Powers. But in the James Bond films, Blofeld actually had several henchmen, and he did refer to them as numbers. So he had number 4 and number 6 and whatnot. And they were all very interesting characters. So looks like Mike's trying to get back in here. So hopefully he'll be able to. There he is.
Hey, I don't know what happened. My main media computer lost internet connection, which never happens, but of course it did not. But I'm back.
Well, we're still rocking and we're still rocking and rolling, Mike. Yeah. I went ahead and talked about. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, man. I've been rolling. I was getting into Blofeld a little bit and how he was kind of an iconic character. He was so iconic that they parodied him in the Austin Power franchise. And once again, very, very famous character. And he spanned over several Bond films. I'm going to say at least the several James Bond films. Sean Connery films. So he was an integral enemy. Bad guy, but once again, he was behind the scenes a lot of times, and there was usually a baddie that was a primary on the so there's Blofeld on the side there on the left hand side of or screen left, and then you've got Dr. Evil, the parody of that, but very iconic bad guy. But once again, several hints. You got to have the bad guy in each film. There's the examples there. Goldfinger was a very unique one as well. It was so the film was called Goldfinger, and Auric Goldfinger was the bad guy. This guy, I think, was brilliant. If you've seen that movie, or if you haven't, I'll spoil it. Sorry, but he was so genius, right? He was obsessed with power and wealth, and what I loved about his character arc was, you would think that the whole premise of the movie was James Bond was trying to thwart his plan because he thought Goldfinger was going to rob Fort Knox. And of course, if you rob Fort Knox, you're going to have all the gold in the world, because Goldfinger is obsessed with gold. Everything, he listens to the theme song, Bassy, right? Everybody, he loves gold. The cool thing about it was, it turns out he didn't want to steal the gold. His plot, which was so beautiful, brilliant, he wanted to set a nuclear bomb off inside of
Yes.
Fort Knox to make the gold and everything in there radioactive forever, which would make him by default the most wealthy man in the world because he owned probably the second largest stash of gold in the world. It was just an
Yeah.
awesome plot. It was an awesome, awesome plot. So I loved it.
Yeah, and that just goes to what I think is something that we often miss about Bond movies is we can get so caught up in kind of the fun action sequences and the cool things that happen. A lot of these have really, really good plots.
Yeah.
And so the Goldfinger one, and it reminds me of the one where who was trying to get the United States and the Soviet Union to blow each other up.
That was Thunder. Was that Thunderball?
Was that? I'm trying to remember.
I don't know if that was. I can't remember if that was Thunderball.
I don't think it was. Yeah, but I mean, basically, they thought that the United States thought Russia was trying to steal these nuclear weapons that had sunk, and the United States thought the opposite, but it was all being manipulated by the villain who. Oh no, I remember it was the guy with the Atlantis layer. Yeah, that was Spy Who Loved Me because it was Stromberg because and here we can see his Atlantis layer here. Oops, right. Yeah, big bad here. When we go to the layers, I've got a layers scene. So
that was pretty cool.
He wanted the United States and Russia to destroy each other because he wanted to build an undersea kingdom. Yeah. Because we've destroyed the Earth, and that's plot's been done several times now, but this may have been the first time.
Probably, yeah.
Because if you think of something like War Games, that's basically the plot of War Games, except it's AI.
Yeah.
So.
Well.
Yeah.
And that's so leading into, so obviously, like I said, there's good guys, there's the bad guys, and they were always plotting against each other, but they always had a meeting with each other, and once again, they could take each other out if they wanted to, but they didn't. It was kind of like a gentleman's agreement that we were going to meet at some point in time where we will have to dispatch one of either I will you or you will me. Spoiler alert, Bond usually ends up winning and there's some sort of an amazing, climax ending. But with that said, there are the bad guys always had some awesome layer. It was never just, he was just a bad guy that lived in a penthouse, right? It was a bad guy that lived in some sort of an amazing, just outlandish, obviously only the wealthy of the wealthy would be able to live in. So it's very, very cool.
It's difficult to choose which ones to show in my 5 panels here.
I know.
There's so many cool ones.
There were a lot of cool ones. So, but yeah, so I mean, it was really good. And so once we had that, in the mix, once we had all of that stuff, then it would get into, I mean, I guess
I think you alluded to something, which is one thing that I think we're particularly good at talking about that I really haven't seen a lot in other analyses of this, which is what I call checking the villain socially. Yeah. So oftentimes Bond will, he played golf with Goldfinger. He went skeet shooting with Drax. He pretended he was a marine biologist to talk about the wildlife in the sea with Stromberg. He had dinner with just, I don't know how many of them invited him to dinner. Yeah. He plays cards. And so it's very fun because that both the villain and Bond know each other's game. They both know who each other are, but they pretend they don't oftentimes. But, this is one of the most fascinating parts of the structure to me, because why does Bond do this, and why does the villain allow it to happen? You've got Bond basically is showing confidence. He's saying, "Look, I know something's going on. I may not know what it is, but I'm on to you." And then this is a type of psychological warfare.
Yep.
And then this is the villain will oftentimes step up his plan, change the timeline. And so he starts making mistakes. Bond
Yep.
starts seeing clues. Bond can size up the enemy and vice versa.
Yep.
And there's so much happening here. And they're testing each other. And then we have to ask ourselves, why does the villain allow this? What,
Yeah.
Why do you think the villain would allow this to go on? Why
Well,
did he just kill him?
Well, because I think it literally is the thrill of things. They have everything. They're wealthy, they're powerful, they have everything. So it's the thrill of the chase, right? It's who's better at, espionage, who's better at deceit, who's better at spycraft, who's better at weapons, who's better. That's what it is. So it's like it's a game to them. It's always been a game to them. And I think that's and James Bond is understands that. The villain is all about the game. James Bond by default plays the game, but it's not about the game to him. At the end of the day, I mean,
Right.
It really isn't. It's never been about the game with Bond. It's a serious thing. He'll play, he'll entertain the game, he'll play it, he'll get involved, he'll do it all. But at the end of the day, Bond's like, you're gonna lose, this
Right.
game that you're playing. So
And it's interesting because sometimes when he's with other like agents from other local spy networks, they're sneaking around and like trying to find ways to infiltrate. And Bond will just jump over the fence and walk right into the villain's lair and say hi.
right.
He does this over and over. He's like, I'm not scared of this guy. I'm just going to walk in and introduce myself.
And of course, we're watching the movies thinking, don't do that. You're going to get killed. Like, don't. You get nervous, right? And you're like, how does he get out of it? He doesn't. Sometimes he gets caught. We talked about that.
He gets knocked in the head more than anybody I can think of.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
there's a little bit of, we got to suspend some disbelief because you can't kill your main character or you don't have a franchise anymore. So
right.
There's that. But, he gets knocked out a lot.
Yeah. So then
that leads us to the next section, which is the chase scene.
Yep. And not much to say here. It speaks for itself. It is what it is. There's always some sort of a vehicle. We'll say vehicle. A lot of times it's cars, but there's always vehicles involved of some sort, and it's just a drawn out sequence of just gadgets going off and rockets shooting from cars or whatever it may be, blades coming down from a car to where they're on the Arctic ice sliding across. I mean, with a rocket coming out of the back. I mean, it's just so fun. But there's always a chase scene, planes. What was it in Moonraker, right? I mean, it was space shuttles chasing each other, right? Or
well, I think my favorite is Live and Let Die, the chase on the river, the boats, and that's got Peppa in it.
Yep.
and I remember Peppa's like, "Oh, we got to get my cousin's boat. He got the fastest boat." And then who was it? Whisper, maybe, who stole his cousin's boat, and then he's chasing Bond. And then at the very end, the highway patrol guy says, "Are you sure that's your brother?"
Right. Yeah, that's classic. It's classic.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, Live and Let Die has a lot of good stuff.
So the chase scenes, I mean, you have to have those. Every action film probably has something like that. I mean, let's go fast forward to the Fast and Furious movies, which I know that's a fun franchise and from my perspective, but I know a lot of people think it's goofy, but same thing. There's those whole movies were just chase sequences. So, but always iconic. You need to have those. So
for real. Yeah. Okay. Then we have the next thing in our outline would be that we have our infiltration and investigation. So Bond starts to act like a detective in this part of the movie.
Yep.
And again, we've covered some of this with how he infiltrates. He basically just walks right into whoever he wants to get information from.
Yeah. But Bond has this like, there's danger over there. It's probably a trap. And Bond's like, I'm going to go spring the trap because
Right.
I can.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's
Yeah.
it's like Bond, don't, like, there's another way around this. Do something else. He's like, no, I'm just going to go straight in, spring the trap. I'm gonna let him know I'm here,
Yeah.
and that's what he does.
Yeah. And oftentimes
yeah,
we've seen the trap used earlier on somebody else, like
right.
when when the sharks ate that agent. She dropped through the trap door.
Yes.
And then later, Bond somehow knows the trap door is going to open in the elevator, and he moves his feet to the side.
Exactly. It's just like, how did he know that? Yeah.
Yeah. So he springs the trap, but somehow usually avoids it. Not always. Sometimes he gets caught by the trap. And regardless, he'll get knocked out by somebody.
And that's true. And that kind of leads into step 9. But just understand that during the investigation piece, there's a lot of revelatory information there that comes out of that. So Bond he'll be in a place where he's overhearing information, he's gathering information, he's finding more clues, or it leads him on another path. It's that type of stuff. So he has to have this information so he can, of course, get the information back to to MI6 and whatnot. But that is really what leads him. But unfortunately, it never fails, Mike. He always gets captured.
Yes.
And when he's captured, as every scene goes, whenever the good guy's captured, the bad guy's like, well, I got you now, so I'm just going to tell you everything. Right. I'm just going to reveal, because you're not going to stop me. You're captured. Goldfinger's probably the most iconic,
Right. With the laser.
Where he's sitting on that. He's like spread eagle on this bed, and there's this gigantic laser that I think Goldfinger uses it to cut gold bricks and gold bars.
Right.
But he put Bond on the table, and this laser slowly but surely moving up to the, because his legs are apart. And then, so Goldfinger basically, even though Bond did overhear the plot, when he was listening in, he was spying a little bit, but then he basically revealed everything else to him in that. And he's like, goodbye, Mr. Bond. And then he walks out and stuff. And of course, what happens next? Bond escapes.
Yes. Yeah.
He always does.
Well, part of that I've noticed is because he's always watched by these henchmen, and they're not the best. Like your supervillain, he doesn't put his top henchmen as prison guards.
Right.
And so Bond easily tricks and overtakes these low-level guys who aren't nearly as skilled as he is in fighting.
Right.
And, for the first run of Connery films, a lot of times it was Blofeld behind the capture.
Yes.
He was basically the big bad of most of the Connery films.
Yep.
And then they lost the rights to Blofeld because the guy who originally wrote Thunderball claimed that he owned the character, blah, blah, blah. We're not going to go into all that. But that's when they started switching it up with a different villain mastermind every.
Which was fine. It was great. Yeah. I mean, Blofeld didn't need to be the character. I don't think we would have the great Bond films that we have today if we had Blofeld the whole time. So I mean, I think it was fine the way they did it.
I've heard I've read some people online gripe that Blofeld didn't look the same. He was bald and he wasn't. I'm sorry. Go read the books. Blofeld changed his appearance in every single book.
Yeah.
So that was accurate.
Yep. Well, interestingly enough, as we all know, Bond ends up escaping, and of course we're getting close towards the end of the film, and so we have just some spectacular, just climactic scenery, scenic display of action. It's wild. It's sometimes in the earlier films, it's wild and crazy. It's kind of interesting. Like, wow, how the heck did that happen? And then, as always, the henchmen or the bad guy, they end up getting defeated in some really crazy, outlandish way of dying. Right. So one of the most interesting ones, and I'll just take it, to Live and Let Die, where Yaphet Kotto, his once again, I cannot remember what his name is, what his name is in the movie. But is it Carmanga? Yeah, that might be it. Yeah. Carmanga. Yeah. Something like that. basically gets, I think he gets like a CO2 cartridge or something in his, like, jammed in his
Yes.
mouth or something, and then he like expands and floats up to the top and then just explodes. I
Bond
mean,
has these little compressed pellets
that's
that
what it was.
will release gas,
Yes.
and
Yep.
he breaks it open in his mouth and then
Yeah.
sticks it into Kananga. And
Yeah.
that is, oh, you're right. That's an amazing
That's
scene.
probably one of the most, yeah. I mean, there are some amazing, let's just call them defeated enemies, ways that the enemy is defeated or the bad guys are defeated. Even the henchmen, end up meeting their demise in interesting ways as well. But always fun to see how they're going to do that. Obviously, they got a little bit more serious, darker, grittier in the Daniel Craig films. But I mean, right up to, even the Pierce Brosnan, some of those enemy defeats were fairly cool, fairly interesting. So.
Yeah. Well, the Ice Palace with Jenks, that was fun, and Die
Yeah.
Another Day.
Yep.
I want to give a special shout out here to You
Yeah.
Only Live Twice.
Yes.
I mean, have you ever seen more ninjas in anything? I mean,
I
that's a
know.
lot of ninjas. And I think, and I've done research on this, and I think I'm right about this. We take ninjas for granted. They're in all the action movies now. They're in all the
Yep.
superhero movies. This
Yep.
was the first movie to introduce Western. Japan always had movies about ninjas, but this was the movie that introduced ninjas to Western entertainment.
Yeah. I did not know
And
that.
not only that, all the ninjas.
Yeah. There were a bunch of them. Definitely a bunch of them.
And also like the first iconic scene where you have people dropping from the ceiling on ropes, which you see all the time now.
Yes.
But this, and we see these things that have become standard tropes in action movies. And where did they start? Most of them started with James Bond.
Yeah.
And think about our dads who would have seen that for the first time in a movie.
Hey, it was exciting for us to go see, some of the later releases of Bond films in the movie for the first time. I mean, I would look forward to it. Like, I can't wait till the new Bond film comes out. Now, the only thing that bugs me a little bit here is they do take quite a bit of time to get another Bond film, put together.
They do.
Not sure if it's just for money, licensing, storytelling. I don't know, but it is a little bit like, come on, sometimes we've got to wait 5 years, 4 years, 6 years to get a new Bond film. So, which we're currently waiting for right now. And interestingly enough, on this case, we're actually looking for a new Bond because Daniel Craig, I have not read anything, so maybe they selected somebody already, but Daniel Craig is out. He's not doing it anymore. So we've got to, they have to find a new Bond. His story
was kind of completed, though, I think. His character arc was amazing.
It was good.
I want to, and when we're talking about the before we leave the topic of death traps and climax, I thought also just the fact that they were in a volcano was an awesome base, talking about the layers again.
Exactly.
And with the ninjas in You Only Live Twice.
Yep.
So
good theme song too.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. Again, I agree with you. I think the gas pellet was probably my favorite.
It was definitely bizarre.
And so so then, but after the big climax, what were you going to say?
Yeah, say after the big climax, though, you think the movie's over, but it's not. The movie is not over. It never ends with the bad guy dying. How does a James Bond movie always end? He gets the girl. He gets the girl. He always gets the girl. That's just how it goes. And it's usually very, very romantic, very sensual, very like, hey, we almost died. So the girl's like, the woman is just, thank you, James. After all the stuff we've been through, they fall in love with them. And for the most part, as you can see, from Sean Connery's face, he's like, that's right, baby. Roger Moore was kind of the same way. Like, of course, I knew you were going to be with me, because I'm James Bond. And then, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, they all were they were a little bit more like, standard, even keel, studly, straight faced kind of guys. But you could tell they did have a little bit of a soft spot for the ladies. Yeah.
Well, he fell in love with one of them and married her. I think he fell in love with lots of them, but he married one of them. Yeah. And I was just also going to mention that my favorite aspect, I think, of the whole thing is whenever they get caught by M,
I know.
I love it when that happens. It doesn't always
Yep.
happen. And then I
Yep.
also wanted to point out my favorite one, which was The Spy Who Loved Me,
Yeah.
because Anya, he killed at the ski chase at the beginning. He killed her boyfriend,
Yeah.
and in the it's kind of in the midway through the movie, she says, "When this assignment is over,
Oh,
I'm going to
yep.
kill you."
Yep.
And then when they end up in bed together, there in the second picture here,
Yeah.
in the escape pod from Atlantis,
Yes.
um, then he thinks they're just gonna have a good time, and she pulls out a gun and said the
Yep.
mission's over.
Yeah. And
But
then
he
she
charms
gives
her.
in. Then she gives in. He charms her, exactly.
He charms her. Yeah.
Charm
Uh,
is one of the biggest characteristics of James Bond. That guy is just charming, period. So
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I think she had to know that it was him or her. I mean, him
Yep.
or her boyfriend.
Yeah.
So what are you gonna
And
do? She's a spy. She gets it.
and then like Mike said, usually, Bond gets caught because they're coming to rescue him. He's got some sort of a tracking beacon or something on him. And so next thing you know, there's US military, British military, everybody, there's like hundreds of planes, like just to go rescue Bond. And of course, Bond's laying in a raft with a girl, it's like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah. And one time he literally says, I think it was when they came down on the parachute.
yeah,
And she said something about getting rescued. And he says, I don't want to be rescued.
right. I know. Yeah. Who said anything about being rescued? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. And
yeah.
then the credits roll. So
Yeah, credits roll, and usually we get the return of the theme song.
yep.
Sometimes in a different form or arrangement.
Yep.
But
and
yeah.
there's a signature at every end of the credits. And what does it say usually, Mike? Do you remember?
There is up until the last movie, I think. But yeah, it's James Bond will return in
James Bond will return. It
They're
definitely says
planning
that, and sometimes it tells what movie he'll come back in. But yes, James Bond will return, and you're like, yes, there's going to be another one.
James Bond will return in Doomsday. Oh, I'm sorry, Avengers Doomsday.
Right, yeah, right, yeah. He will actually be a side character.
That's a joke. James Bond, as far as we know, will not be.
I don't
although
think
it'd be cool to see him show up in a big scene like in Avengers Endgame.
I don't think he's signed on the Marvel franchise. So
yeah, I think that's Dynamic Comics that has the Bond rights.
Yeah.
And so before we end, I want to throw in some other things that aren't really part of the structure per se, but they make the Bond world his world. They're part of Eon Entertainment's and Ian Fleming's wonderful world building, which are something I'll call Bondisms, and then humor. So let's talk about Bondisms first.
Yep. These should be very familiar to people if they just know James Bond, right? It's kind of a running joke, but it was iconic for his character.
Yeah, we've got the Bond. I'm not going to do a British accent because I can't. Yep. We got the Bond, James Bond, and there are some deviations when he doesn't say that, and so I've got them mentioned here. And they kind of used it as a point with the Craig films because they're kind of telling an origin story for 007 in those films. And so he kind of has to warm up to that becoming a signature phrase.
Yep.
That's my take on it anyway. Then there's, of course, martini, shaken, not stirred.
Shaken, not stirred. Yep.
Yeah.
That's
and he drinks
iconic.
lots of drinks.
Yep.
Yeah.
He does.
It's not that he just orders it.
Right. But everybody knows that's his signature. It's vodka martini, shaken, not stirred. Yep.
Yeah. And there are a few movies that I have listed there where he did not utter that phrase.
Right.
And then, although one of those I'll put an asterisk on because when he orders a Vesper, a Vesper is what he calls vodka martini, shaken, not stirred, named after Vesper Lynn.
He did have that lemon twist to it, though, right? Wasn't there a little?
Oh, maybe so.
If I remember correctly. But no. It was.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But
and then we have the suits and the watches, the custom clothing.
Yeah. And mindful, real quick on the drink piece, Bond was
Oh,
very much educated in the
oh
art
yeah,
of mixology. I mean, he knew drinks, he knew cordials, he knew a lot about drinks. And not that he was an alcoholic. I mean, they never alluded to that anywhere in the
yeah,
film. The guy just knew his drinks. He was very classy with that knowledge
yeah,
in the
yeah,
film. So it's respectable. It's respectable.
yeah. He'd say things like, "It smells more like a 52" or whatever.
Right. Right. Or
And
he knew the proper temperature for a champagne, you
yes,
know?
and I always think in that about that scene where he's throwing the wine, or no, it's Nick Nack throwing the wine bottles at him. How to
Yes,
Bond, that would have been sacrilegious.
I know. Yep.
That would have
That
been
was
an
that
insult.
was a good scene. That was a good
Yeah,
scene, actually.
he puts Nick Nack in the suitcase and
Yep.
tosses him in the ocean, and
Yep.
then yeah, and
The
he
clothing.
uses his knowledge of alcohol sometimes to actually defeat the villain.
Yeah.
So like
Yep.
the time I'm trying to remember which scene, which movie it was, but um, he Bond says, "Well, I'd rather have forget which drink it was, a port or whatever. It wasn't a
Yep.
port, but he says, I'd rather have a port." And then the villain says, "Oh, I don't have that in stock." He said, "What you just poured me was a port."
Right. Right. No, it's good, like to kind of call him out.
Yeah.
But
And I
yeah,
was wrong about the details of that. So
there,
everybody don't get mad at me.
so many, like I said earlier when we first started the show tonight, so many different things that make a James Bond movie a James Bond movie. So
Yeah.
we didn't mention everything. It wasn't all encompassing, but
No.
I think we touched on a lot of the major things that really make the story what it is, the intellectual property that it is. But we did it from a perspective of how bringing the film, how bringing that formula to life through film, which makes the movies what they are. Just really, really, really awesome. And
Yeah.
I encourage everybody, I can't recommend one. They're all great movies. Mike and I have our favorites. I think maybe we can just wrap up with, what's your favorite Bond film,
Well,
Mike?
I'm going to mention one more. It's not really a Bondism, but I do want to mention one more thing about
Sure.
Bond makes the Bond world Bond. There's usually some pretty great wit and humor in it.
There is. Yes. Yeah, that's right.
And so sometimes we think that it was Joss Whedon who invented the quips, but oh my God, Bond was
Roger
doing
Moore.
it a long time before. Well, even Connery had a lot of good quips. I mean,
Connery did.
Connery's like, "That's a Smith and Wesson, and you've had your 6." I mean, I thought that was funny. Shocking, positively shocking.
Yep.
When he electrocutes the guy, and I guess, and then even Lazenby had his meta joke, which was, "This never happened to the other fellow." When
that's right. Kind of the Office take where he's looking at the camera, like directly into the camera, like, "Hey, this didn't happen to the other guy." Yeah.
Diamonds Are Forever had my absolute favorite humor, though.
Yeah.
Where he gets out of the sewer that he was buried in, and he's like the sewer pipe, and the workers look at him like, "What's going on?" And he was like, "I was just out walking my rat and seemed to have lost my way."
Yes. That was Sean Connery too. Sean Connery.
Yeah, and then at the end of that movie, he sticks the bomb in the henchman's pants and throws him over.
Yes.
Live and Let Die, of course. Peppa is hilarious.
Yeah.
And then when you're talking about the gas pellet, and he says he always did have an inflated opinion of himself.
Yep.
Lots and lots of great stuff here.
They were great one-liners. I agree.
And I think one of my favorite lines of any movie is when M says, or Bond says, "Why would anyone want to pay $1 million to have me killed?" And M says, "Jealous husbands, outraged chefs, humiliated tailors, the list is endless."
He starts just rolling through stuff. It's like, oh, like it was. Yeah, that's good.
Or The Spy Who Loved Me, where he's caught by him with the girl in the escape hatch, and he says, "Just keeping the British end up, sir."
Yep.
So much great humor.
Yeah.
So we're gonna I think we need to talk about, what you were leading up to, what you were insinuating earlier.
Yeah. So, we probably we're getting we're definitely over an hour this time. Once again, this was a special episode for Mike and I. It's something that we that's near and dear to our heart. We absolutely love James Bond. We love the franchise. So we definitely wanted to take some time to really share, our take on things and kind of give people a little bit more of a different perspective on the James Bond film. Not just, hey, it's a spy. He's an action guy, action hero. He gets the shit, he gets the babe. So I want to know, Mike. Mike and I do not know. We did not discuss this, but I do want to know, Mike, what is your most favorite James Bond film?
Yeah, well, I put a lot of thought into this.
Yeah, it's tough, by the way, audience. It's very tough.
It's tough, but I got to go with The Man with the Golden Gun.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling.
Number 2 would be. I'm going to give you 5. Sorry, man.
Hey.
Man with the Golden Gun, number 1. Number 2, Live and Let Die. Number 3, The Spy Who Loved Me. Number 4, From Russia with Love.
Yeah.
And number 5, Goldfinger.
Okay. No, so you're Roger Moore and Sean Connery.
Yeah, and I'm going to justify why I love The Man with the Golden Gun so much. It's because that social checking of the villain scene. They sit down, they have dinner. And Scaramanga, it reveals so much about Bond's character.
Yep.
The only time in the franchise we really get this great chef's kiss level of discourse between the villain and Bond. Yeah. And Scaramanga says, "You and I are the same," which of course we hear in a lot of movies. But Bond says, there is a wonderful 4-letter word that's very useful and you're full of it. Yeah. And then Bond goes on to explain that I kill people who kill. I kill for king and queen and country.
Yeah.
You kill for money.
Yeah.
And power.
Yeah.
And that to me, because of that scene, and the rest of the movie is just amazing as well.
Yeah, it's a good movie. I'm not going to lie. It is a good movie. A lot of good action, a lot of exotic locations. Scaramanga's lair is pretty cool.
Yeah. And, there are a couple things that if you took them out would make it a perfect movie, I think. Yeah. It's a near perfect movie, but then so is A Spy Who Loved Me, I think. So anyway, I just wanted to justify that. So what's yours?
License to Kill.
Okay. I kind of thought maybe that's where you were going to go.
I love License to Kill. My favorite James Bond is Roger Moore.
Yeah.
But I loved License to Kill. I'll tell you why. License to Kill is it is one of the most unique James Bond films. It was one of the first James Bond films, and I think probably one of the last. James Bond actually was rogue in that film. He was not working on behalf of Her Majesty's Secret Service at all. He went rogue to help avenge a good friend of his, Felix Leiter. And so I loved that movie. So the next question is, what is your favorite Bond song? And I've already told you mine. Mine's License to Kill by Gladys Knight. So you know where my heart is when it comes to James Bond. So I just told you my favorite Bond film, and my favorite Bond song.
You probably already guessed that it's Nobody Does It Better, Carly Simon, with Sheena Easton's For Your Eyes Only, a very close second.
That's a great song too. They're both great songs. We encourage once again, you can go to YouTube and you can just type in James Bond films theme songs, and you'll get not only the song, but you'll also get the video that's associated with the movie. If you're, so it's all there. But yeah, really, really great stuff. So, well, Mike, who is your favorite Bond?
Wow, I didn't see that question coming. We don't plan out everything, do we?
No, we don't. I want to know. I really want to know. Mine's Roger Moore for sure.
I gotta say Roger Moore. I mean, I hate to do that to Sean Connery because
me too.
He's Sean Connery, but I think that Roger Moore was where the character hit its stride.
Yep, I do too. I totally agree. He was awesome. He was confident. He knew his stuff. He was funny. He was very charming. He was just awesome. So yeah.
Yeah, we agree. I want to just mention that we did not attempt to break down the James Bond franchise movies. We did not attempt to cover every
No.
possible example of everything. That would be an impossible task. But I do want to give a shout out to a very great channel called Heavy Spoilers. There's a guy who does that, and it's the best one I've found. So if you're interested in that kind of level of breakdown, go check out Heavy Spoilers.
If not, go and watch the movies yourself and start in order. It's okay to start. You can watch them out of order, but start in order. It's fun.
Yeah. I recommend watching them in order periodically.
Right.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
This has been fun.
It has, Mike. Sorry about the camera issue, man, but I think we took it in stride and we managed. No,
thanks
it's all
for
good,
carrying
man.
on without me.
Hey, 100%. I got this. This is what we do for the audience, man. It's what we do.
As him once told Bond, you know the British government does keep working when you're not here.
Right.
Or some paraphrase of that.
Two last things. I still haven't seen. I told you we got to mention Star Wars every time. I still haven't seen Mandalorian. I'm gonna go see it sometime.
I haven't either.
Audience, don't get on to me. I did watch the new Darth Maul series, the Disney Plus animation.
Yeah,
Darth Maul. Check that out. It's actually pretty good. I do like that. So give that a watch if you haven't seen that yet.
Agreed.
And then maybe we'll have something else to talk about next week. I don't know if we'll go there or not yet, but I'll tell you what, something near and dear to my heart as a youth growing up was a very famous cartoon called He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And we are getting a live action film that is releasing in theaters this weekend. And I am totally stoked about that. I cannot wait to see it.
Might be cool. I never saw that at all when I was a kid. So what might be fun is if I go watch the movie being a complete noob when it comes to Masters of the Universe, and then we could have a show and you could geek out on it, and I could tell you my experience as a newbie.
I would love to. That'd be great, Mike. That'd be great. Okay. Well, hey, good show, Mike. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, man.
All right.
See you next time. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Have a great evening.
Bye-bye.
Bye.